Well, whilst we just continue the final session of this group of 3 inputs before tea, continues the theme of banking. As you noticed when you came in, Metro Bank gave you a nice goodie bag, well, a bag and lots of goodies in it. They are one of the sponsors of today, and I'd very much like to welcome Craig Donaldson, who's the CEO of Metro Bank, to speak to us now to finish the session off. Craig.
Good afternoon. I've got some Metro Bank people in the audience. Do you mind standing up? Great. They've got the M-pins on. Any questions of that detail that you've just asked? Ask them. I'm impressed. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you very much. So my name's Craig Donaldson. I'm the CEO of Metro Bank. My presentation's slightly different. Look, I'm here to pitch. I want to win business. I'm growing a business. But I want to talk to you about actually accelerating a business. What is Metro Bank? First of all, I'm going to go through the same problems, aren't I? Yeah, I am. There you go. I'll work it out in the end. By the way, the difference between a startup and a bigger business is 3 stone looking this old. So what are we about? Can you hear me if I stand here? I like to wander. I can't stand still. So,
can you hear? Does he need your roving mic? Just take, if you don't mind, take the roving mic and then...
Can you hear me? Is it on? Thank you. Sorry, I can't stand behind there. I feel like a school teacher. So, join the revolution. Call it, what is Metro Bank? Metro Bank, first new high street bank in over 100 years. You can see what's up there. We listed last year. I've been there since... Sorry, I'll come back to that. Sorry, you took the slide out that was blank. Dear me, they play with these things. I've been there from when there was nothing. We then grew to 12. When there was 12 of us, we raised £15 million, which sounds like a hell of a lot of money, but when you're building a bank from first principles, it's not. Today, we've raised £1 billion, and this is our catchment area. We floated last year on the stock exchange. Today, we're about 145 in the FTSE. So we're in the FTSE 250, 45 in the FTSE 250, 145 overall. So I didn't want to talk to you about, look, we can do lots of things for you. We can. We'd love to do more business. I'm trying to build a business. But I want to talk a little bit about accelerating a business. Over the last 8 years, I've taken a business from 4 of us to 2,500 colleagues with 984,000 customers and over 10 billion in assets, worth about £2.7 billion. So that's what we've done in 8 years. So I think I've got a little bit of experience, and I don't mean to sound arrogant because I've made loads of mistakes, and also look at the age and the weight, you know. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what I think you need to do it. Because it's very, you know, it's not about debt, although of course it is, or equity. It's about the leaders of the business and how they go about doing it. And the first thing for me is setting a vision and the values of the company. If you want to grow a company, you've got to know this. And if you're supporting businesses, if you're getting involved in businesses, if you're building your own businesses, if you don't know this, you will fail. The vision is where you're going. The values is how you get there. The 4 of us wrote this in a pub about 300 yards from the office we were renting. And it stays true. It's called my beer mat slide. I've got these hanging up. Well, my wife's finally let me take them out of the downstairs toilet and put them into the basement. But I've got the beer mats now being framed. But the vision is really simple. Actually, it's wrong now, the vision, because we'll probably be closer to 2.5 million customers with the way we're growing. But what's important is that when we had nothing, when there was 4 of us who went and got some desks because we couldn't get around my kitchen table anymore, we knew we had to write this, because as there was more of us joined, as there was 5 and 6 and 100 and 1,000 and 2,500, we knew we needed the pillars by which we were going to talk to people. And the vision, therefore, engages people. The first 30 minutes you join the organization, you get me talking to everybody about the vision and the values of the company. If you do not have the vision, then how can your people work towards it and deliver it? And if you can't engage them, then you will not achieve it. You know, it's kind of like the only way to know where you're going is to know where you're going. And If you don't tell them, then they won't know where they're going. So the vision is the key. By 2020, over 1 million customers, over 2.5 now. But the most important statement for us is creating fans. Creating fans is what our business is about. And I'll come on to that a little bit more. The values is how we do it. We have to be amazing every second of every day. Now, actually, I know I can't spell amazing. I know there's an extra E in there. I don't care. I'm the CEO of the company. I get away with it. But the point is, actually, when we wrote it, myself and the other chaps and ladies, we wrote Ways to Amaze. And then when we got an HR director, when we got to about 600 people, she said, where are your leadership behaviours? We went, oh, God. We didn't need leadership behaviours when there was 4 of us. We were just doing it. So I think consistency is really important. And I refuse to change Ways to Amaze. And Danny added on the ING. She worked within the confines of what I asked her to do, which was great. The vision and values are the most important thing I think we did in the company. I look back now over 8 years, over 2,500 colleagues, and it creates a common language, a common direction, a common discussion. And everybody knows their jobs is to create fans. And for us, therefore, I'm going to go back to this, really was about creating a model to create fans, creating a culture to create fans, and then just working bloody hard. And you know yourself, there's nothing quite like putting the hours in to make things happen. Oops. So, what's our model? Well, our model is all about creating fans, like I said. On the left-hand side, over here, 89% of our current accounts in store are opened in less than 30 minutes end-to-end. No other bank in the UK can do that. That includes printing your card, the debit card. You can select your own PIN number. You're the customer. Why would I tell you what your PIN number is going to be? We'll set your mobile app up. We'll set up the internet for you, your telephony. By the way, when you call, you'll get straight through to a voice. Nobody wants to talk to a computer. You've got a mobile phone for if you want to deal with a computer. If you phone, you want to speak to somebody. For business customers, 63% get open in 60 minutes. I think that's probably a little fast. In truth, it probably takes a few hours. We did some research. I'm going to be naughty here. Shoot me. And it takes 6 to 8 weeks for another bank to typically open an account for a business. We can do it in hours. They take months. It's as simple as that. All we've done is use technology that's available today that you'll be using. Real-time technology, integrated in the right way. 55% of our customers walk out with everything done though. Everything done end-to-end, mobile app, cards, checkbooks. But of course, we're also open 7 days a week. Who here has left a card behind the bar? Or anybody honest? Thank you. It's honesty. Thank you. We were the first company in the world to develop the ability to block and unblock your card instantly. So you don't have to cancel it, you don't have to phone up. Little things to make our customers' lives easier so we create fans. By the way, that cost 20 grand to build and to test. And it was developed by 2 of our app developers, David Couture and David Gould, who were talking to a customer in store on payday before they went for a pint. I believe people still do that. I have a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, so I now have to go home, but they go for a pint. And that's about the culture again. They went back and spent 12 grand and built it. We showed it to us, and then we spent 8 grand testing it to make sure it was robust, and we launched it. The first bank globally. Monzo, you may have heard of them, they're a massively innovative bank, and I was with Tom, the CEO, last week, have copied us. I said, you cheeky bugger. But he said he's going to make sure in his book he tells them the truth. He won't. The point is, innovation, culture, focus on customers. Our vision is to create fans. Everything we do is about creating fans. That's how we go about accelerating a business, by being clear about what we are and what we're not. We are not asset managers, we are not wealth managers, we are not insurance brokers, but we are bloody good bankers. And we know we can be better. We know we can be better. And we know that because we benchmark ourselves. This is our cultural scores. They're good, but they can be better. The the stuff on the, sorry, it hasn't come out very clear, I apologise. The stuff on the right-hand side is where we are above the global high-performing norm. So Google, Apple, people like that, Amazon. And on the left-hand side is where we're below. Now, over here, I would recommend Metro Bank as an employer. We actually scored 91%. But we are 3% behind the global high-performing norm. So 91% is a pretty good score. Hopefully you can all agree that. But we've got to be better, because we can learn from people to be better. Google are probably the best at it at the moment. We can learn. We also benchmark ourselves on the high street. We're number 1 at the moment. We've just taken over from Lush. Who's heard of Lush? You smell them before you see them. I had not heard of Lush. I took my kids to Lush one Christmas after finding they were top on the high street for service, and I fell in love with the place. I spent 4 hours there. My wife had to come and collect the kids. I was in the back office. They were showing me the computer systems. Brilliant. I've now got to know the owners. They live in Bournemouth. They've let me go and have lunch and breakfast at their house and ask them questions, because I find, you know, was it my mother used to say, shy Ben's getting out? If you ask, normally people are nice to you and they'll talk to you. So if you ring them up and just say, I'd love to learn from what you've done, they tell you. Just treat people with respect. So I've learned a lot from Lush. I think they're a superb company. Superb company. John Lewis, I make sure everybody in my company owns the company. So we give out stock share options to everybody who works with us every year. Because I love the partnership model, and Charlie lets me, the chairman there, lets me buy my porridge once in a while. And I'm a class act, you know, what can I say? And Charlie said to me the thing he thought was the most important thing about John Lewis was that everybody owned the company. And they were proud because of that ownership. So I just copied him. I'm not a proud man. I'm happy to learn from great people doing great things. But that accelerates you. You know, that accelerates your companies, it'll accelerate the companies you're working with. By the way, Apple I should have taken off. I just think they're overtrading in their stores at the moment. They're a brilliant company. By the way, there's a hint there as well, isn't there? About overtrading for companies that accelerate, because actually it's really hard managing growth. Growth is actually something that's very easy to get wrong. You either invest too fast or you invest too slow. Both hurt. And I've done both as well, unfortunately. And I have the scars and the 3 stone in weight and the 10 years aged in the last 8 to prove it. There's some truth to that, by the way. My 7-year-old was in my bed last night because she's been bullied, apparently. So taking it out on her dad is the way I thought about it. So, but most importantly, it's about creating fans. Last year, we spent less than £60,000 on advertising. I've got a mate who has a business with a £500,000 turnover and he spends 100 grand on advertising. I spent less than him last year. He's in Ashby St Ledgers, just up the road from here. And the reason we do that is because we focus, the light blue line here, can you see just above the red, is our brand recognition. The red line is our net promoter score. That's the line we use to measure creating fans. The blue line means people are talking about us, the light blue line. The red line means they're talking well about us on the whole. Of course we make mistakes, by the way. We're so far from perfect, but we will get better, I promise. And by doing that, the dark blue line, or the black line, is our growth. 60 grand of advertising. No incentives. We don't pay incentives. The other banks will pay you 100 quid to switch to them. I won't. I don't want to pay you to join me. I want you to join me because you want the service and the convenience that will offer you the technology innovation. Also, I know if you join me for the money, somebody else will pay you to leave for money. Whereas if you join me for the service and convenience that I offer you and I deliver it to you, you stay. And that's how you build a long-term proper business, in my view. And that's for personal and business. 9% of our business is business customers. Largest customers got about an £86 million turnover with their full banking with us. We offer, of course, the asset finance, the invoice discounting, commercial loans, commercial mortgages. Most importantly, what we do is we bank businesses. It always makes me laugh when people talk about lending, and I'm not being rude because we do need lending. But you can't get lending if you actually don't have a business account. Because if you can't take money in and pay money out, nobody's going to lend to you. So we do all of it. because that's what we are. We are a personal and business bank, trying to create fans. And forgive me, I think it's working, but we can be better, and we will be. We're winning awards. The one that gives me the most satisfaction, if I may, is the one up there. Last year, we won the most trusted financial provider in the UK. For the last 5 years, it had been a company you may have heard of called First Direct. For the 2 years prior to that, it had been Nationwide. I think they're pretty damn good companies, actually. I'm not knocking them. But I was so proud when we knocked them off the top spot and became the most trusted financial provider in the UK. But to me, it comes back to this. It's all about creating fans. It's all about focusing on how we can be better for our customers and how we can learn from our mistakes and how we can make sure everybody's pulling together and everybody's working together. We leverage technology to do it, obviously. But most importantly, we know what we want to do. Create fans, create fans. I joke there's only two types of people who work for my company, those that create fans and those that support people who create fans. But it's the truth. So, I want your business. For those of you that bank with us today, thank you. Those of you who don't, come on. We have 2 stores in Milton Keynes. We'll be opening later this year in Northampton. I'd like to open in Leicester later this year, but I've got a feeling planning may push me into early next year. I've got 4 great sites we'll be opening in Birmingham next year. I've promised my dad we'll get to Sunderland at some point. Not straight away. But we are a bank. We want to help companies grow. You know, I've taken a company from 4 of us and nothing to 2,500 colleagues through focusing on the customers and creating fans. And that's what, to me, my business is about. That's how you accelerate a business, by being very clear about what you are and what you're not. And what we are is people who want to do business with people like you. Pitch over. Any questions?
Keep the mic, yeah. Brilliant, yeah. No, great. Thank you so much, Craig. Well, any questions? In terms of the fans and the business, I suggest you don't do that within the plenary, but you do have a conversation with any one of those people that stood up in the room, or indeed with Craig himself. But in terms of the story that you've just told, which is truly amazing, as you say, and quite phenomenal and very inspiring to hear about, Craig, we'll open this up for further scrutiny. Anybody want to have a crack at this? So, one person here. You've got the mic. Good. Go for it. Say who you are.
Ian McCall, PwC. Craig, great presentation, great story. I am a Monzo user, so I understand that side of it. My question is to do with this bricks and mortar versus the online piece. So, and you're 60 minutes in the branch to open an account. How often are those people coming back into the branch, and how often do they use the branch after that initial account setup?
But to be clear, that was for business customers, remember. So it's less than 30 minutes for personal customers. Just to be clear.
Noted.
Very important. And actually remember, that's end-to-end, where Monzo, you've got to wait for the card to be delivered. Just saying. Sorry, I am joking, of course. But, sorry, no, the queues are longer in Reading at the moment, definitely. So for me, it's interesting. Look, we are the #1 app on the App Store at the moment for personal business customers, bar none. And we have the technology to deliver to you face-to-face in store. And my view is what customers want is choice. That's what they tell us. And if we can fulfill through the mobile app, the internet, the telephony, and the store, why would customers want to compromise and just go for one of those channels and hope it can fulfill everything they want? I don't think that's what customers do want. And I think that, you know, the vast majority of our customers do use mobile, personal customers, that is. And that's great. It means that I need about 250 stores for true national coverage rather than 1,000. But I think the ability to choose how you interact with a company that you buy services from is really important to customers. And when you have a need and you want to sort it with somebody, the ability to walk in is really important. And therefore, I do think there is a need, and there always will be, for face-to-face and technology. And it's how you integrate them together is the key. Also, last year we had over 25,000 school children go through our education programme, which is part of the national curriculum. And we engage the children, we bring them into the stores, we break down the barriers that people have with banking. I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you become part of the communities if all you are is a mobile app.
Okay,
Thank you.
Very good. Happy with that answer.
Is it on?
Anybody else?
Sorry, just on over the back here.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yes, the lights are just...
You got. Craig, James Wilkes at the back. Congratulations on your success. It's quite inspiring listening to you. You said you enjoy going for breakfast with the creators of Lush, the owners of Lush, and you get a lot of time with other senior executives from other big companies. But you do own, and you are the chief executive of a very large bank. How would you advise small companies like mine to get that same access? Because I'd like to have breakfast in Bournemouth with the guys who started Lush and get a bit of their advice too.
So I was really lucky. Look, 8 years ago, we weren't this. You know, we just raised £15 million when I wrote to Charlie Mayfield and asked him. A large bank had just served notice to shut my bank down, my bank account, because I had bank in my name and I wasn't an authorised bank, so I must be a fraudster. And I just received a letter telling me I had 30 days to move my banking, because obviously called Metro Bank, and we weren't a bank, and there was no such thing as new banks, meant I was a fraudster. So I'm trying to show you early, and people give you time. You know, I've set myself up now, haven't I? But, you know, I was fortunate enough the other day, I was presenting at a fintech organisation. I do a lot with Microsoft Ventures, helping fintechs develop. And one of the chaps came up and said, I've got this idea, can I have 10 minutes of your time? And about 3 days later, we're in Covent Garden having a coffee. Interesting things, if you're interesting and you're willing to fit around people. I genuinely believe people want to help people. It's what most people want to do. And if you're polite enough about it, yeah, you're going to get knockbacks. But I take you back to what my mum says. Shy Ben's getting out. If you don't ask, I can tell if you don't ask, the answer is no. Drop me an email. I'll tell you what, yes.
Oh, jolly good. Well, you got a yes here, over there.
Thank you.
Get the microphone to the gentleman.
Oh, there's a lady there.
Oh, okay, the lady first and then the gentleman.
Thank you. Just a quick one. I'm not sure if that's on.
Yeah, go for it.
Emma Titmus from London Stock Exchange. Could you talk a little bit about how the company has found its transition from private company, high growth life, to public company? You know, what does that mean for you? And I think probably good and bad is good to hear.
So it's been a year, March 10th, since we listed. And I have to say, I didn't know what to expect. You talk to a lot of people. Again, I was very fortunate. I got in touch with a chap called John Roberts, who was the CEO of AO, who'd done it the year before, and he was kind enough to talk me through the learning he'd had dealing with investment banks and lawyers and the LSE and others. The biggest thing I found hardest is not looking at the share price, because it's like it's addiction now. You couldn't look before, but it's constantly moving. It's why I've done nothing. Look, I haven't moved. It's moved. So it becomes an addiction and that you have to break. So one of the things I found very hard is not to comment on the share price, never get involved in discussing the share price. The share price will go up and down. As long as we create fans, it'll end up in the right place. So, and I'm very clear, and hopefully the guys will know, I've never, ever, ever commented on our share price, because it doesn't matter as long as we create fans. But I find it really hard not to look, and I found that hard. The other thing I found hard, in truth, is the level of genuine transparency you have to put out there. So I have to publish exactly how much I earn. And I'm a lad from a pit village in the northeast of England. And you know, you never talked about money, sex or religion where I came from, or politics. And suddenly now everybody gets to see how much I earn, what my rating is. And I find that really hard. Not because I do anything wrong, but just, you don't want to talk about it, you know? When my dad's saying, I didn't realise you were paid that much, Craig, it's uncomfortable, you know? And when my sister's saying, you're paying for Centre Parks this year, you know? So I found that really hard. But actually it gives me confidence in what the LSE and the listing authorities do, because the hard work you have to go through and the transparency you have to go through gives you confidence about the companies that run the FTSE. So it's fair enough, but I do find it hard. Also, I've always dealt with investors. when we were setting the company up, I made sure that nobody could ever own more than 9.9% because it was very important to me that I ran the company and I didn't have anybody controlling the company. So I had right of veto when we were raising the stock to not have people owning more than 9.9. So I've always dealt with investors the whole time from my first 15 million quid seed money. So I'm used to that, I don't mind that. And actually I really like going out to see investors. I think it's actually a privilege to be able to take my business to really clever people who might give me their money or might not. And they ask you good questions and you get engaged. And I get to talk about my baby, you know, which kind of most people just get bored and say, shut up, you know, especially my wife. You know, my wife says I've got 3 children, 2 at home and 1 at work. And therefore, now I get to go and talk to lots of investors about my baby. And actually, I really enjoy that. And I enjoy the clever questions, and I enjoy the really clever challenges that they give you. But actually, the best thing about it's just been, it's the business we're building. So actually, a little bit about share prices are negative and the transparency, but a good thing for the LSE overall. Talking to more investors is a good thing. But actually, all it's done for us is allowed us to keep growing. And that's the best thing about it. It created the money to let us go to the next level.
Thank you, Greg. And the gentleman there. For the,
Good afternoon.
Then Tony, and then I think that'll probably be it.
Sorry.
David Mulholland. I work for Bridgman & Bridgman. We're a landscape company based here in Milton Keynes. But you can probably tell from the accent, I'm from Gateshead. So I was just wondering, I've seen the map of where your branches are, and it's sort of London and creeping out into the Midlands. What is stopping you from opening a branch in Sunderland? What's the what do you have to go through to be able to do that leap?
So, it's the culture. Today we've got 2 stores in Milton Keynes. So we're recruiting people into Milton Keynes from the Milton Keynes area, the Aylesbury area, from the Northampton and Leicestershire areas. And then when we open our store in Northampton, I've got the natural colleagues who get it to go and set up Northampton. And then we'll recruit more people there, create more jobs, backfill into Milton Keynes. And then when we open in Leicester, I'll take people from Milton Keynes and Northampton and have the culture and the oversight and the drive and the right things to be a success in Leicester. And then we'll open in Birmingham when I've got my Aylesbury and the other stores all working, and we'll take colleagues from those stores. So I've got to take the culture. We've got to live the values. And if I opened a store in Sunderland today, I mean, the people would be brilliant, blatantly, but I've got to make sure we've got the right culture, the right buy-in, the right oversight, the right support. And to me, look, this is a long-term growth business. You know, by 2026, I want to be 250 stores nationally. And, you know, I've been here for nearly 9 years doing this, and I see myself doing it for easily the next 10, because I want to build a business that's there for the long term. And I've got to be careful, as I mentioned when I was talking about, you can grow too fast and you can grow too slow. I've got to make sure we don't grow too fast. And that's why I'm growing in the way that I'm talking about.
And that includes your waistline, from what you've said.
3 stone. 3 stone I've put on.
Yeah. It can come off.
This is my fat suit, and I can't breathe.
Thanks, Craig. You've answered half of this. I was just speaking about resilience in a business and organisational resilience, and we found in BSI that keeps a lot of CEOs awake at night. Just tell us a bit about what keeps you awake at night and your resilience, you know, stretch over the next 10 years.
The culture.
Yeah.
You know, it is all about the culture. So I'm very conscious on the culture, and I put a lot of work personally into that, you know. It was funny, I was in one of the contact centres in Boreham Wood today, and we use something called Yammer to communicate internally. It's sort of internal Facebook, Twitter. And they said, who does your Yammer? And I was like, me. And they're like, but there was one at 12:30 last night. And I was like, yeah, it's because my daughter had got into bed. I couldn't get back to sleep, so I checked what was on Yammer. And then there was one at 6 this morning. I was like, yeah, because my son came in and woke me up. So culture. Because you can copy anything, you know, technology. And if I may give you a little, I'm going to be a bit naughty. There was one of Ian Kirkpatrick, who runs all the stores, was presenting at a big conference on retail banking. And his presentation was called How to Create Fans. There was one of the CEOs from Barclays there presenting on how to drive customers onto cheaper channels. Look, ultimately, we're a bank. We're on the same corners. We could have the same technology with the same people delivering the same products. But I want to create fans, and they want to drive customers onto cheaper channels. The real difference is the culture. And that's the thing that keeps me awake at night.
So, can I just, on that note of culture,
Yes.
and bearing in mind that you have said shy bairns get out, bring into the conversation something I was genuinely going to bring in anyway, because it is related to culture and to Milton Keynes and the culture of Milton Keynes. I know you have your team here, but you must have picked up the fact that this is the 50th year of Milton Keynes. I mean, talk about start-up and scale-up, you know, we're a sort of city that's kind of grown, although not quite so rapidly. The artistic culture, creative nature of Milton Keynes is perhaps something that tends to get a little bit lost when people are pursuing businesses. So I just want to draw attention to that, and to particularly draw your attention to the fact that since 2010, we have had in Milton Keynes a fantastically successful and very quickly growing international festival, the Milton Keynes International Festival. Just put your hands up in the room, those people who didn't know about Milton Keynes International Festival. Fantastic. So look, you can see businesses do. That's good because the brains behind it, the artistic direction for that happens to be Monica Ferguson, who is sitting in the room. You will know that that's one example of culture in a city that is helping this city grow up for its next 50 years. I was going to make a general plea, which I will do now, that we need as many businesses to be involved in the artistic, cultural and creative output of Milton Keynes to take us through the next 50 years, and certainly for us to become European capital of culture. And maybe if you could get behind us doing that, we could support Sunderland's bid for UK City of Culture.
Staying up would be better.
They are different.
I'd rather we stayed up.
Yeah, well, I knew you would. Well, we're very pleased that the Dons might just about stay where they are as well, those of us who support the Dons. But now, I do make a serious point here about the business as getting behind the European capital of culture for Milton Keynes on the back of that international Festival of Milton Keynes, which is one of the showcase areas. The gallery, the work of the Arts and Heritage Alliance and others are critical to it as well. But we struggle to get a major headline sponsor. And yet, do you know what our values are? Amazing. We produce 10 amazing days, coincidentally, twice.
I've never been pitched to like this on stage.
No, you said it. 10 amazing days, and you said you want fans. Craig, Monica and I chair the festival, can bring you 250,000 fans in Milton Keynes, covering that area of the M25.
I think I'm buying the coffees when we sit down and talk, don't you?
We just need a headline sponsor, and you might even get quite a lot of business out of it.
I used to live just up the road, about 20 minutes up the road, in a little place called Ashby St Ledgers, just off the A5, and so I used to shop in Milton Keynes with my wife and kids all the time. You know, Milton Keynes is an amazing area, so let's talk.
Exactly,
and also, you know, I think the one thing that should be celebrated is the growth of Milton Keynes. I don't think gets enough press. You know, somebody was telling me, it may have been one of you, it wasn't you, but it may, you know, Milton Keynes could be bigger than Bristol by 2019.
Yeah, it will be, yes.
That is an unbelievable position to be in.
Yeah.
And Milton Keynes has so much to talk about because actually you are at the centre. You know, where I used to live, just Daventry, is the centre of the UK, quite literally. And it is an amazing area that needs more promotion, in my humble opinion.
When we get the 400,000 people, which you will, you'll have more than 2 Metro banks, I'm absolutely sure. But thank you for listening to the pitch, and we will talk later. In thanking Craig, could I also just ask you very warmly to put your hands together for the other 2 speakers, again, Tony and Lewis.